Bum bum brum, bum bum brum, bum bum bum. Hello, friends. It's time for a little mythical astronomy live stream. Yes, we're going to talk about Odin. We're going to talk about his spear Gungnir, and we're going to talk about basically some other loose ends regarding Odin's influence on A Song of Ice and Fire that I didn't have time to get to, or at least were like non-topical. Even I've got two more coming, obviously the Bran and the Jon Snow Odin videos, but those are already written and are very tightly focused on Odin's influence via those two characters. Most of that's about skin changing and stuff. However, there's a lot with Odin and Norse myth in general. So basically today, I'm going to talk about some of the other stuff like Sunspear, Oberyn, Martell. I'm going to get into some of the Azor Ahai stuff. We can dabble in some of the Ragnarok ideas. And I also want to workshop some of this. So I'm inviting you guys watching either live or even after the fact. You can participate in the comments to help me develop some ideas. I want to make a really good Ragnarok, A Song of Ice and Fire video. And I might do a separate Azor Ahai, or that might be the same one, because a lot of the Odin ideas apply to Azor Ahai and Night's King, as you guys who've watched my older podcasts will know. So... and it's also open season. Any questions you have? Hey, everyone. I see you all filing in. Hey, Lauren. Hey, Minty. Lazar. Happy just a little anniversary passing. I was chatting with you guys before the show begins. So, hey, everyone. Rewatching my videos. That is just awesome. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate that. So, yeah. Like I said, Odin, the first one that we focused on the sort of transcendent tree wizard stuff, right? All that stuff about Odin hanging on Yggdrasil or trading his physical eye to open his third eye and drink from Mimir's well. All that stuff is essentially metaphorical and referring to, transformation, personal transformation, or even like magical transformation. But it's essentially, these are all metaphors for inner stuff, inner vision, inner change. Odin has an entirely different side to him, which has to do with war. And of course, if any of you guys have either read or watched American Gods, I'm not going to spoil any of that. I have watched some of it. Quinn was watching the series recently, and I was busy working on the Odin video, but sort of, with one eye, I was listening to some of it. So in American Gods, Odin is a main figure. And he has this whole side that has to do with war. Odin is fond of war. As one of his nicknames is Glad of War. He likes to start wars. And even though Loki is known as the trickster figure, Odin himself is also a trickster. He has several nicknames about being, guilesome or a trickster or shifty eye or, stuff like that. Like I mentioned in the video that Odin considers himself above the laws of men, kind of like Bloodraven, a little bit amoral. And so, yeah, as you can see on American Gods, Odin is doing a lot of fire starting. I'm the fire starter, the keen instigator. Yes, big Prodigy fan. He is the fire starter. He is the instigator. And yes, Ian McShane is a pretty damn good Odin. I was pretty happy with that. I wasn't totally happy until they showed him in the dream world where he had the full, eye and beard and stuff. And then I was like, oh yeah, but he gets the character right. And so Odin is fond of battle. He is the Lord of battle. And it all gets back to this idea of Other, which is battle frenzy. Odin's name means madness or frenzied or mad one. And inside of his name is a shorter word, O-D-R or O-T-H-R. Of course, that weird D with a line through it is called et. It's a letter that's usually replaced with D or TH. So when I say Odin, that the sound, that's the eth sound. So essentially inside of Odin is this word Other, not odor, like odor, but Other. And it means frenzy or madness. And it's basically like very high vibrational human energy, like adrenaline plus some, okay? And the Norse connected this Other, this frenzy, both with the artistic inspiration that would lead to poetry and art, which Odin was the god of poetry, mead of poetry, all that stuff, but also that same frenzy goes into like battle fury and battle rage. And so Odin is the god of both war and poetry. And of course, the poetry and the magical sight and all that stuff, those were considered like female attributes in Norse sort of cosmology or Norse culture. So Odin also has this weird thing where he's doing male and female stuff at the same time. And so like Loki, there's even some like symbolic gender fluidity that's happening there. But in any case, it's that same Other or sort of like frenzy that the Norse saw as the key, the same energy that was behind both artistic inspiration and sort of that battle fever or the battle rage. And of course, in A Song of Ice and Fire, there's several characters who talk about that battle madness that comes on, Jaime, Barristan, and people like that. So, we got a super chat coming in. Thank you very much. Howard says, in Norse mythology, Odin is definitely a figure that inspires self-preservation and the tricking of others in pursuit of higher and higher power. Yeah, he straight up steals the meat of poetry. He poses as somebody he's not, and he sleeps with a beautiful woman and steals her meat of poetry and then flies away. So I'm going to talk about that in the third video, actually. But yeah, so there is this side to him. So I want to start off talking about Oberyn Martell. Odin Martell. Oberyn Martell. Yeah, so close, isn't it? I was wearing this shirt the other day, okay? I was looking in the mirror, and I was like, hey, wait a minute. Pierced with a spear. What's going on here? Now, Odin is a sun god. It's not his main attribute, but he is a sun god. And he, as most like sort of high king of gods, father gods, are either going to be a sky god or a sun god, or even sometimes both. That's very common to see the sun god identified with kingship. And of course, Odin is also identified with kingship. He was the god of the Scandinavian kings, essentially. He's the one that they would identify with. Odin was the king of gods. And part of the whole one-eye symbolism is the idea that the sun is Odin's eye. And I've got some great artwork, actually, that makes that clear. Let me go ahead and pull it up real quick. And of course, you guys know when we talk about the sun as the eye of God, this is going to dovetail back into the God's eye and some cool A Song of Ice and Fire stuff. So here we go. We got one. This is called Inner Vision by Cameron By. And let me share the screen for you. There, you get a pretty good view of it there. So you can see the golden sun-like hair radiance from his face, the one eye blacked out, the one eye open. This is a pretty good idea of Odin as a transcendent sun god here. So his spear, Gungnir, is very famous. It's his main weapon, okay? And by the way, I actually used, let me share a different piece of art with you. I used that art that you just saw for the brand. This will be part 2. You can see I used that for the title image there. So Odin's spear, Gungnir, it is already a sun spear. And so, like I said, when I was looking at my shirt, I was like, wait a minute. Odin, a sun god, was speared through with his own spear. Remember, I know that I hung on that windrock tree 9 whole nights with spear wounded and to Odin offered, myself to myself. So Odin, as you see in some of the art, is speared to his own tree, or he's hanging from the tree while he's just sort of impaled on the spear. And so here we have a sun impaled by a spear, and Odin is a sun god. So this got me thinking, okay, is there an Odin idea going on with the Martells, with Oberyn Martell? And then I thought about Oberyn for a second, and I was like, wait a minute. Odin is a war god who's glad of war and likes to, stir up war. And so I was like, okay, this might be a thing here. So even though Oberyn doesn't look like, he doesn't have the white hair, he's not from the north, he doesn't smell like Norse mythology. However, he is definitely a war starter. He comes to King's Landing and starts a whole bunch of shit. He also sits in judgment, Tyrion's trial, kind of like a king or a high god. And then he gets into the fight. So there's a few things there that's going on. And yes, of course, Oberyn's name does have implications with Oberon, King of the Fairies. that's mostly like the Azor Ahai layer. Azor Ahai is kind of like the king of the fairies in the sense that Nissa, she is the queen of the fairies, the tree magical people, the elves, the children of the forest. They're sort of playing that role. But that's a little off topic. But yes, Katie, you're thinking on the right lines there. Is Doran Loki? So I was thinking about that because Odin's brother is Loki, and there's definitely, you could see that, right? Peter Baelish is the obvious Loki trickster manipulator figure, but Doran is very similar to Peter Baelish, isn't he? So I didn't explore that completely. I didn't like read through Doran scenes to see if there's specific Loki references, but at least in a loose sense, that could essentially work. So obviously, okay, let's go back to Gungnir. Let me tell you about Gungnir first before we get into Oberyn Martell. So I'm just going to go ahead and let's see. I had a good link open. I don't know where the tab is. So I'll just look it up again. So Gungnir is Old Norse, and it means swaying one. And it possibly relates to an obscure Danish verb, gungri, which means to tremble. So it is, you think of probably something impaled on a spear, swaying or trembling, or it could be a reference to the spear as a tree. Viking spears are made of ash. Yggdrasil is an ash. And in the Nibelung saga, then they actually made Ring of the Nibelung. It's Richard Wagner's opera, which I don't know anything about opera, but it's called Der Ring des Nibelung, and it's Odin's spear is made from Yggdrasil in that one. So I think that idea is already implied by Norse myth anyways. But essentially we've got this ash spear Gungnir, and the cool thing about it is, like I said, it's associated with the sun. There's two different stories about it. It always comes from dwarves, which, by the way, in Norse myth, dwarves are really just elves that live underground. There's not much delineation there. They're really like the dark elves to the light elves. But in any case, Loki discovers this. In one version of it, Loki goes to the dwarves to find something to replace the golden hair of Sif, which he cut off and stole, and he had to replace it with something golden. And he sees the spear while he's there, and he asks for it to give to Odin. Or in another version, he asked the dwarves to make Odin a weapon. The point is, the dwarves make the spear from sunlight. So it is a sun spear, and it has the power of the sun. And you can see in some of the Odin artwork that is reflected, like the one that I used for the title, which is Odin by Sarah Contreras. And I'll share that one real quick. I couldn't get the whole spear in the screen grab, so I'll show it to you now, and you can see the whole artwork. So that is obviously a spear made of sunlight. You can see that there for a sun god, right? So once you got that, it's Odin's spear is a sun spear, and Odin is impaled by his own spear. Then you can definitely tell that there's something going on with the sun impaled by a sun spear. See, that's the thing. This is called a sun spear, but the sun itself is impaled by its own spear. So it's implying that Odin layer of my own spear impaling myself on it. I've always wondered about that. Why is the sun impaled by the sun spear? Because the idea of a sun spear, the basic raw symbol of it, the reason why Dorn is called sun spear is because the sun is very hot in Dorn, and it beats down like a fiery hammer in one quote, or like a spear of fire. It's abrasive. It attacks you. That's why the Egyptians have many versions of sun deities, which are aggressive and deadly. That's the whole point. It's like the sun can kill you. If you don't have water, you get stuck out in the desert, you're going to feel those sun spears, right? And then furthermore, you go to the moon meteor stuff, and the sun spear is an obvious moon meteor symbol, especially when we look at Oberyn's spear, and it's got the black oil poison on the tip. So now we've got like the oily black stone meteorite implication as the tip of the spear. So obviously a meteor symbol. And as we know, the moon meteors come from the sun and the moon, because the moon wanders too close to the sun. There's that alignment. The whole idea is that it's astral sex between the sun and moon that creates the meteor children, the dragon children. These fall to the ground like fiery dragons, flaming swords, sun spears, same idea. But again, why would the sun be impaled by its own spear? It's never made sense. Sun rays don't come back and hurt the sun. I didn't get it. Now I get it. The point is, Odin is a sun god impaled by his own spear. So it's a very obvious Odin reference in the Sigil of Dorn. Yeah, sounds hot. Exactly. Yeah, there's always that layer. What's up, Vanash? Nice to see you. Oh, going to sleep. Yeah, I got some Europeans staying up late. Shout out to Greece and Germany and people getting up early all the way over in the land down under. Thanks, guys. Trying to mix up the streams. By the way, I had a really good time last weekend doing the double header stream. Did one Saturday night, which was like a kind of a European friendly, like Saturday midnight for me, which is Sunday morning for Europe. And then Sunday morning for me for basically America. And that worked really well. So I'm definitely going to do that again, the double header stream. And I'm also going to do more trivia too. That worked well as well. So, you got to watch out for them ruse. So guys, like I said, I am taking questions today via either PayPal.me, Mythical Astronomy, or the Super Chat. And just full confession, sorry, a little behind the scenes talk. I just put out the video yesterday. It had been like 44 days since I published an edited video. I intended to get these Norse videos out like 2.5 weeks ago. I hurt my back though last month, my lower back, and it's been very hard to sleep. And I haven't been able to get a good workflow. And one of the, it's great to be a YouTuber. I work for myself and all that. One of the pitfalls is that like you don't get paid when you're sick or you're hurt. So essentially what happened to me last month is I just couldn't finish my video when I wanted to, and it got delayed. And so my income it fell a little bit. So guys, if you want to hit me up with the PayPal today, that is very much appreciated. Trying to catch up, and it'll even out. I'm going to get these next 3 videos out, so I'll have a good check like a month from now or whatever. But going to be a little tight this month, so going to do a lot of live streams. Appreciate the support, means a lot. Keeping everything afloat and all that. So let's see where we are. So basically, that, like I said, any questions about the new video or Norse mythology, or if you have other Norse topics you want to see me cover, I'm going to do an Idun and Sansa video for sure. I've got actually a cool Sansa theory that I came up with recently that's backed up by the Norse myth, so that's going to be cool. And yes, here's the full link. I think just PayPal, the one I have here works too, but that's the full www link there, and it's in the description as well. And in fact, let me go ahead and flip over and just check that email real quick. So I think I got one this morning, if I'm not mistaken. I totally did, from Brooke. Let's see. So going off Bloodraven being a parallel to Odin got me wondering, is the three-eyed crow a parallel to Loki? Loki, the trickster god, who is known for his luring tactics and stories of him fishing with nets. Didn't the three-eyed crow, in a sense, go fishing for Bran and lure him into the weirwood net? Did the Bloodraven Odin figure send the three-eyed crow figure fishing to get Bran? So some people do think the three-eyed crow is not Bloodraven, or not always Bloodraven, or that there's some degree of separation. It's implied that Bloodraven and the three-eyed crow are the same person. Three-eyed crow is basically just the form that Bloodraven takes in Bran's dreams. I tend to think that the three-eyed crow is Bloodraven. I'm slightly open to the idea that there's a greater weirwood net intelligence, like deadness or something that's involved there. But I'm pretty sure it is Bloodraven. However, Bloodraven is also a Loki figure. He is Odin and Loki together. I have figured out by reading. Well, I was onto it already, but then I read a post from like 2014 from some Reddit thing, and somebody figured out that Loki, his 3 champions are, Yormungand, Hel, and Fenrir. So you've got a fire or a demon lady, a dragon, and a wolf. And Bloodraven's essentially recruiting those, wolves and dragons, and Daenerys, who's kind of like Hel. They're all going to be fighting for the team, for team living against the others. And the Night's King is also an Odin figure. So you can see the Ragnarok line shaping up with Night's King as an evil Odin, leading his army of the dead, because Odin leads the dead at Ragnarok. And you can see Bloodraven as the Loki figure with his champions, his children, being Jon, Dany, and Bran, essentially. So that is... Martin never likes to do anything too straightforwardly. He likes to mix it up and do stuff like this. So you can never go one-to-one and sort of have tunnel vision on the interpretation. There are Loki and Odin aspects to Bloodraven and to the Night's King figures. The Night's King figures have very strong Loki symbolism, probably stronger than Bloodraven does. But then they also have the whole one-eye transformational shit going on, like with Euron, Aemond One Eye, and stuff like that. So it's all mixed up. But good question. And I did get several questions about the three-eyed crow stuff. So I'm not totally against it. But what I don't like is the theories are based on the idea that Bloodraven pauses and mumbles when he's like, "Hey, crow," and then he starts talking about how he is a Night's Watch crow. Because here's the thing. The way that people appear in dreams is not necessarily something they control. The dream realm, everything is symbolic. Jojen sees the Ironborn invasion of Winterfell as a flood. When Bran appears to Jon via Weirwood Net Dream, Jon sees him as a tree that grows out of a stone and then sprouts Bran's face and starts talking to talking to Jon. I don't think Bran was like intending to carefully control the way he appeared to Jon. He's like, I'm going to appear as first a rock and then a little sapling that grows out and then I'll sprout a face and I'll talk to Jon. Like that's just how his essence was portrayed to Jon. Because I think George is essentially buying into the sort of metaphysical theory, which I see all over the place. And I pretty much agree that like, if there is such a thing as an angel or a spirit or an extra dimensional entity, they essentially are incomprehensible. And so our brain is going to translate it into something that we know. So we're going to see it as an alien or an angel or a demon because those are the shapes that we have in our head. It's kind of been scientifically proven that brains do this. When they see something they don't know, they attempt to compare it to something they do know as a way of grappling with it. So essentially, when people are getting visits from people like Quaithe or Bloodraven in their dreams, their own mind is interpreting raw astral energy as a shape, okay? So Bloodraven contacts Bran. Bran perceives him as a three-eyed crow, but Bloodraven isn't necessarily attempting to be a crow. Like, that's not necessarily what he's doing. However, if you look at the quotes from the Bran chapter in A Dance of Dragons when he's in the cave, to me it's very clear that Bloodraven is the three-eyed crow. Because Bran, if you read it, it sounds like Bran hears the same voice. You know, when the lights are out, then he likes it better because it's more like when the three-eyed crow was talking to him, because he only hears the voice and doesn't see Bloodraven. And if you look at the stuff that Bloodraven says and the stuff the three-eyed crow says, it's all the same shit. And then when we get to Bloodraven's cave, he says, I was watching you when you fell. Now you see why I could only come to you in dreams. So Bloodraven is saying straight out, I've been coming to you in dreams. And who's been coming to do like the three-eyed crow? So to me, it's all pretty neat. But I'm always open-minded and stuff. But I think for the most part, the three-eyed crow is Bloodraven. There you go. There's a lot of questions about that. So I know you guys wanted to get an answer for that. So there that is. And I believe there's a couple more here. Okay, so Scott Garcia just send in a get well. Thanks you. I am mostly better now. I'm feeling all right now, but I don't know if you guys ever do that like lower back muscle pull thing. It just, man, it sticks with you and you can't sit and you constantly re-aggravate it. And yeah, anyways. So Connor sends in a 420. With Odin being so tied to the Sunspear, do you think Doran has a massive part to play in the ending of the Night King or as a Night King? So no, I think that Doran is mostly a symbolism person, meaning like I think that Doran is mostly going to end in tragedy and they're mostly tied to the sort of surface level plot. I don't think Doran is going to turn into a magical character. However, the idea that he's carried around on a litter is an important symbol. It's kind of like the god emperor and the pearl palanquin. And George is doing something with that litter symbolism. Illyrio's in the litter as well. It's kind of like Bran losing his legs. I believe it's kind of like a weirwood throne sort of symbol. And also Doran lives atop the Tower of the Sun. So it's kind of like atop the tree. It's basically greenseer symbolism. And then maybe Loki. We didn't know. Like I said, I didn't go back and check for all the Loki symbolism with Doran. Oh, Margaret, thanks. That's very generous of you. Just a thank you for the work. I really appreciate that, Margaret. That's awesome. And yeah, you guys are cool. Keeping me afloat. Big time. Big ups to Margaret. And so, okay, so let's go to, I've got a quote ready for Oberyn about him being a trouble starter, an instigator. I actually really love the Prodigy. I'm all about it. So this is the chapter where Tyrion and Pod Payne are waiting to greet the Dornishmen coming to King's Landing. And he's expecting Doran Martell, but gets Oberyn instead. All right, so first I'm going to... okay, actually, I'll just read through this in order. There's a bunch of different clues. Remember that Odin hung on Yggdrasil for 9 days and nights. So 9 is an important number. I think that's why there's 9 trees in the Weirwood Grove of 9 and 9 swords on the crown of the King of Winter as well. So it says, Joffrey should have met the Dornishmen himself, he reflected as he sat waiting, but he would have mucked it up, no doubt. And this is, of course, Tyrion's inner monologue. Of late, the king had been repeating the little jests about the Dornishmen he'd picked up from Mace Tyrell's men-at-arms. How many Dornishmen does it take to shoe a horse? 9. 1 to do the shoeing and 8 to lift the horse up. So this is an Yggdrasil reference, or a Sleipnir reference. Sleipnir is an 8-legged horse. So we've got 8 people holding the horse up. That's pretty cool. And then 9 overall is, of course, the number of Yggdrasil, which is Odin's horse also. So we've got all this. We've got an Yggdrasil and a Sleipnir reference when we're talking about this joke about Dornishmen shoeing a horse. So that's where it starts. Then it says, he could see their banners flying as the riders emerged from the green of the living wood in a long, dusty column. So they're emerging from the living wood, but then it says, from here to the river, only bare black trees remained, a legacy of his battle. Too many banners, he thought sourly, as he watched the ashes kick up under the hooves of the approaching horses, as they had beneath the hooves of the Tyrell van, as it smashed Stannis in the flank. Martell's brought half the lords of Dorne by the look of it. He tried to think of some good that might come of that, and failed. So then he says, how many banners do you count? He asked Bronn. The sellsword knight shaded his eyes. 8. No, 9. So 9 banners, 9 Dornishmen to shoe a horse. So we've got that number 9 running here. Now the ash symbolism is kicking in. And of course, as I've said many times, Yggdrasil is an ash tree. And by the way, I don't have a spear, but I do have a bass guitar, and it's made of ash. Oh, yes. I bought this 20 years ago, long before I ever knew anything about Yggdrasil being an ash tree. So I, my friends, have my own ash spear, my own ash tree. And so this morning I decided I would name it Yggdrasil. I've never named my instruments before, but now my bass is Yggdrasil, which kind of makes sense to me. Oh, yeah. Anyways, where was I? So they're coming. So Yggdrasil is an ash tree. George Martin, he uses the ash symbolism a lot of ways. He likes, since there's all the stuff with fire transformation, he likes to use the ash that comes from fire to imply like the fire of the gods that comes from the weirwood trees. So, for example, Barrick Dondarrion, who is a big, Azor Ahai greenseer figure, he has tons of Odin symbolism. He's both hung and loses an eye. So he's got both very clear Odin death symbols. And then, of course, when he's resurrected, it's in a grove of ash. And that's why I named Weirwood Compendium 4 In a Grove of Ash, which, by the way, I'm drawing from that essay today, and I will drop the link real quick. Don't worry about it, Carl Karsnark. I have it right here. Yes. So if you want to do a little further reading on this topic, this is the one to do. And of course, it's both an essay and a video. So anyway, you want to check it out. Oh, let me get this super chat before I miss it from Sean. Sorry, Sean Sweeney. Touching on the endgame stream from last week, will Oberyn's sun ash spear symbolism have an effect on the royal residents of King's Landing when they begin to flee from Aegon? I'm looking for revenge. Yeah, okay. From Fagon, I should say. Yeah, so let me just think about this for a second. So, well, Oberyn is dead, but you're maybe talking about sand snakes getting revenge. That's probably going to happen, yes. I'm not sure if anybody's got a spear to use, though. So I'm not sure about that. But probably the same symbolism will come around, sure. And when King's Landing is burned, so King's Landing is definitely a weirwood symbol. So guys, remember, okay, so when the lightning in the Ironborn myth of the burning tree, the Grey King, who is a greenseer figure, tempts the storm god, he angers the storm god, he taunts him, strikes out with a lightning bolt, and that sets the tree ablaze. So that sets off this pattern of the ground zero bonfire. The impact zone of the meteor is where the tree is. It sets the tree on fire in some sense. This ties in with the mushroom cloud symbolism. When the meteor lands, it creates a mushroom cloud, which looks like a burning tree, and it's literally a pillar of ash. So Martin has put this together. He's like, oh, a mushroom cloud is a pillar of ash. It looks like a tree. Yggdrasil is a tree made of ash. And so he's working with this whole idea of a burning tree, which gives you both mushroom cloud symbolism and Yggdrasil, the ash tree symbolism. And so when Oberyn, this quote that I just read, where Oberyn Martell and his Dornishmen are coming through this burnt landscape, they get covered in ash and they kick up ash and they come out all gray. So we've got these gray ash warriors coming out of the green wood and out of the ashes. And so these are people coming out of the trees. This is an ash tree person or like a tree warrior. That's what's being implied here. So let me get back to this quote. So let's see here. Tyrion asked Pod to read the sigils, which they do. There's a couple of clues in there that are interesting. Yes. Bronn teases Pod and he says, reading books again? Books will ruin your sword eye, boy. And so he's saying, oh, you're gonna lose an eye if you keep reading books and pursuing knowledge. So there you go. It's like, yes, Odin lost his eye to pursue knowledge. So that's little symbols tossed in. Then they're going through and they're talking about the sigils, blah, blah, blah. The man woodies of Kingsgrave, of course, all of their symbolism is like a skull and has to do with weirwood trees being the grave of kings. So there's more Azor Ahai in the weirwood net symbolism. Then it goes down and we get to, let's see here. Martell brings some formidable companions, it would seem. Not one of the houses Pod had named was small or insignificant. 9 of the greatest lords of Dorne were coming up the King's Road, them or their heirs, and somehow Tyrion did not think they had come all this way just to see the dancing bear. There was a message here, and not one I like. So again, the number 9 is present. They're coming to make trouble, start war like Odin. I see your super chat, Carol. I'll get that in a second. Tyrion's talking about how he has a bad feeling about this. And it says, the lords wore silk and satin robes with jeweled belts and flowering sleeves. Their armor was heavily enameled and inlaid with burnished copper, shining silver and soft red gold. They came astride red horses and golden ones, and a few as pale as snow, all slim and swift, with long necks and narrow, beautiful heads. The fabled sand steeds of Dorne were smaller than proper war horses and could not bear weight of armor, but it was said that they could run for a day and night and another day and never tire. So this kind of sounds like Sleipnir, which is called the best of horses. So these horses can run and never tire, right? It's almost supernatural. And it says the Dornish leader forked a stallion, black as sin, with a mane and tail the color of fire. He sat his saddle as if he'd been born there, tall, slim, and graceful. A cloak of pale red silk fluttered from his shoulders, and his shirt was armored with overlapping rows of copper discs that glittered like 1,000 bright new pennies as he rode. The high gilded helm displayed a copper sun on its brow, and the round shield slung behind him bore the sun and spear of House Martell on its polished metal surface. A Martell son, but 10 years too young, Tyrion thought as he reined up. Too fit as well, and far too fierce. He knew what he must deal with by then. How many Dornishmen does it take to start a war? He asked himself. Only one. So there you go. That's Oberyn is here to start a war, and it just takes one person. So that's Odin in a nutshell right there, even before we get to the spear. And Ginty says, Tyrion is very Loki, that's for sure. He tried to be an ally to his family, but ultimately made into the enemy, even disfigured or killed a favorite son, and roasted the nobles. Yeah, Tyrion is a very strong Loki figure. So that's a good, Ginty, that's a good suggestion for a video. There's enough there to do a whole video, or at least like a 20-minute video for sure. I've thought about that, but not pursued it all the way. But yeah, there's no doubt about that. The whole idea of Loki being a cast out who then goes to war against the other gods, that's very much like Tyrion leaving his family and joining the sign of Daenerys. That's pretty easy to see. So nice call there, Ginty. I've got a Ginty and a Minty in my chat. That's awesome. Let's see. Oh, and let me go back here and get to, thanks for the super chats. Guys, here's one from Carol. Why does no one ever talk about Aegon or Fagon and Jon Snow being brothers? Because they're not. I'm not sure what theory you're referring to there. But yeah, I'm not your horse. You know, I'm not your Huckleberry. If you're looking for the alternate parentage stuff, I don't think that's going anywhere. I think Fagon is fake. Jon Snow is R plus L equals J, and Dany is who she thinks she is. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but it's just what I think. So I'm more interested in the symbolism of Edric Dane being milk brothers with Jon Snow, because this is implying like a bastard Stark and a trueborn Dane have a brother-brother relationship. That to me sounds like a last hero symbolism. And so I've wondered about that in a couple of the, the Stark that brings the dawn and the Eldrick Shadow Chaser episode. But Fagon he's the Mummer's dragon, guys. He's gonna get cheered by the crowd, and then he's gonna get slain because he's a lie. I don't know what else to say about Fagon, except for that my name is Fagon. Do you think that Bloodraven ties with the three Norns, the giantesses who weave our fates and nurture Yggdrasil? Sincerely, House Blackfire. So Bloodraven, no, but the Children of the Forest, yes, and Nissa Nissa. Yes, and as I mentioned in the video, the Norns, they're mostly known for weaving the strings of fate, but they also carve runes into Yggdrasil, and that sounds like Children of the Forest carving faces into the weirwood trees, right? So I think your Norns are your people like Ghost of Highheart, maybe even Lady Stoneheart, Dead Nissa Nissa, who both Highheart and Ghost of Highheart and Stoneheart symbolize. Those are your Norn figures. And yes, Sleipnir is Shadowfax, no doubt. And Shadowfax, right, the same thing, can run tirelessly, right? So cool. Good question so far, guys. So let me see if there's anything else from this quote about Oberyn. I think that's mostly it. There's other cool symbolism there, but it's not really related to what we're starting. So I think I've made the point with Oberyn. Like he comes with all this symbolism. He comes out of the ash, right? So we've got this idea of this warrior coming out of the ash tree. It's obviously Odin Martell, we can call him. And Odin, by the way, he's mostly associated with ravens and wolves, but he also does turn into a snake sometimes. So there is snake symbolism for Odin. And of course, George has given us these Odin figures like Bloodraven, who have the dragon symbolism as well. Let's clear out the cords there. So the sun spear. Let's talk about the spear. So like I said, Odin's spear is made by the dwarves, and it's golden and it's sunny. It's got sunlight in it. So there's several versions of the spear that we see in A Song of Ice and Fire. To me, the most obvious one is the one that the Magnar of Then carries around, because it's literally a weirwood spear. And like I said, Odin's spear is an ash spear, Yggdrasil's ash, and some implications are that his spear is made from Yggdrasil. So weirwood spear is a perfect implication of Gungnir. And then Magnar is a king. Magnar essentially means king in the old tongue. And he doesn't lose an eye, but the old Magnar's lost his ears. So there's this whole body part sort of disfiguration thing going on. So that's a pretty good one. And then, of course, the Magnar leads the assault on Castle Black. So this is a preview of the Ragnarok last battle against the others, where you've got the other like wildlings being led by this Odin figure attacking the Night's Watch. So that's all pretty good stuff. Then we see the young Magnar Steer do an alchemical wedding scene with Alice Karstark. And this seems to be showing us an Azor Ahai Nissa Nissa thing, but moving out to the icy side. And you've got the whole Son of Winter. Remember, the Karstark sun, Karstark sigil is also a sun. So again, you have the Magnar of Then with the solar sun sigil, just a northern version of the Dornish sigil, kind of. So once again, we see this Odin is a sun god implication translated into A Song of Ice and Fire. Very cool. Thanks for keeping the super chats coming, guys. Lauren Griffith says, a knowledge-seeking Oberyn lost both his eyes in exchange for a pretty big expansion of his mind. I cracked up Quinn with that one. Yeah, I was going to mention that. Oberyn does lose his eyes. He does get blinded. It's not trading it for a drink from the Well of Mimir. But there is the eye symbolism there. What I was thinking more about in his duel with the Mountain is that the Mountain is a giant. And of course, there's a lot of giants in Norse myth. And Odin I believe, is fighting against the giants at Ragnarok. He also he has to go into the land of the giants to find Mimir's well. So just in a general sense, Oberyn as Odin fighting a giant is cool. Now, at Ragnarok specifically, Odin fights Fenrir, the enormous giant wolf. And the Cleganes have the Hellhound sigil, which is very much a twin version of the Stark direwolf. They both are versions of Cerberus. They both have the Hellhound implication. And Clegane gives you 3 dogs. Cerberus has 3 heads. The Starks have an obviously Hellhound wolf, but with just 1 head. So just variations on the same idea. So I think there is a loose implication of Odin and Fenrir when we see Oberyn and the Mountain. And going further, so the Mountain he's both a giant and he's like a hellhound. So there's kind of that symbol. He's hitting both the Jotnar giant symbolism and the Fenrir symbolism. And of course, Odin and Fenrir, they essentially kill each other. Not quite. Odin's son comes along and kills Fenrir after Odin dies. So that doesn't exactly happen, but it's pretty close. Yeah, Vidar rips his jaws open. Exactly. So we don't see that exactly, but I was actually thinking that it's a little bit similar to Jormungandr and Thor, because Jormungandr, the serpent, and Thor kill each other. But the way that it happens is that first Thor kills Jormungandr, but Jormungandr has bit Thor. And so Thor takes 9 steps and then dies. That's pretty close because Gregor kills Oberyn, but Oberyn's spear has already poisoned Gregor. And so Gregor dies after the fact, and it is a mutual death. So just as I was saying, George never does a one-on-one. He likes to layer it on. You can see that layer of Yormungand and Thor in that fight as well. Because remember, you're just like, as a writer, you're just trying to make, you're just grabbing cool ideas and, oh, it gives me an idea. I could reuse it. So there's no such thing as clean lines and one-to-one comparisons. It's all just kind of jumbled, and it's fun to unpack, though. Yeah, it is some Kill Bill shit, isn't it? Hattori Hanzo sword. Shwa! Give you a free haircut. Oh, I think I missed a super chat. Let me go back. Thanks, guys. Odin fights Tyr in American Gods. Yeah, that's I don't think I saw that scene, or I haven't gotten there yet. Here we go. From Drew. What's your POV on House Valerian? They were the maternal lines of the Blacks and the Blackfires. Symbol is a sea dragon associated with icy symbolism. So you want to get into the Weirwood Compendium, the one called Silver Seahorse and Daenerys the Sea Dreamer. I went into all that symbolism. There's a ton of, it's basically all dragons in the Green Sea symbolism. That seahorse that looks like a dragon, that's just Azor Ahai swimming in the Green Sea. And there's a lot of Sleipnir symbolism because of the horse stuff. So you're on the right, you got the right idea there, but it's literally like 2 hours worth of that symbolism. So you got to check out that podcast. Weirwood Compendium, Silver Seahorse. So then we've got Howard saying, oh, okay, I read that one, sorry. Odin and Tyr. And of course, Tyr also fights a wolf and gets his hand cut off. So there's a lot of wolves in Norse mythology. There's plenty of wolves for everyone to fight. That's definitely true. So then in the fight, I'm going to scroll down to a couple of quotes from Oberyn's fight with Gregor. So, here's a companion quote. So when Tyrion was seeing the Martells coming through the ash, he said, oh, just like when the people from Highgarden came through the ash. So here's that quote exactly. It says, they came up the Rose Road and along the riverbank, through all the fields Stannis had burned, the ashes puffing up around their boots and turning all their armor gray. So we've got, again, the ashes puffing up in columns like ash trees. It's turning them gray so that they are warriors of the ash tree. And then when it says the banners must have been bright, the golden rose and golden lion and all the others, the Marbrand tree and Rowan and the Rowan. So it goes, both Marbrand and Rowan have tree sigils. And Rowan is an ash tree, whereas the Marbrand tree is a burning tree. So this is all tying into the idea of the weirwoods as either an ash tree or a burning tree that makes ash. It's just layers and layers of ash tree symbolism in this one paragraph. And these are the warriors coming out of the ash. And then that symbolism, like I said, it's doubled onto Oberyn. So pretty good stuff there. But see, I was pulling up in a grove of ash. Or rather, the mountain versus the viper and the hammer of the waters. That's the one we want. Let's see here. So it says, Oberyn is showing his spear to Tyrion, and it says, we are fond of spears in Dorne. Besides, it is the only way to counter his reach. Have a look, Lord Imp, but see that you do not touch. The spear was turned ash, 8 feet long, the shaft smooth, thick, and heavy. So turned ash gives us that cosmic axis idea, right? Just like the tree in the Nightfort is twisted, the whole idea of the cosmic axis is that it's the axis that the stars appear to turn on. So the idea of a twisting tree or a turning tree, that's a cosmic axis tree. So the spear and the world tree are definitely kind of like the same symbol. So remember when I said in the video that Odin and the tree are kind of the same? Like the tree is just a manifestation of Odin. Odin is the lord of the cosmos. So the cosmic tree is like his thing, right? So he carries around a spear, which is just another symbol of the cosmic axis. So basically, this is a sun god who controls the turning of the universe. That is how we should see Odin. So his spear and his tree, same symbol. So it's a sun spear, and then he's a sun god that transforms on a tree. You can see why this is so heavy an influence on A Song of Ice and Fire, right? And I'm just scrolling through here. Sorry, I'm looking for the quotes I want to read. Arya Hota has a long axe, which is also made from ash, and he calls it his ash and iron wife, which is interesting because the first man and woman in Norse cosmology come out of the ash tree. So the ash is kind of like a mother in that sense. Oh, I see a super chat here. Let me grab this one before it slides by. Brian says, we're the Starks, the Dolorous Ed of the Danes' last hero. Yeah, maybe. Left in the north to freeze after the long night. Yeah, I mean, there's something going on there, right? It could be the Dane character we're supposed to see as the great empire of the dawn royalty figure. So that would be your Night's King, your Azor Ahai, who becomes a Night's King, whereas your bastard Stark is kind of like your last hero figure. Maybe something like that. It's hard to say, but trying to figure that out. Yes, Lauren, Ash Eye by the shadow. So Odin has one eye and he hangs on the ash tree. So yes, there is Ash Eye wordplay that's happening. If you look in the Weirwood Goddess series, I talked all about this because Melisandre, even though she's a fire priestess and likes to burn weirwood trees, she actually looks like a weirwood tree. She has red eyes and a red mouth and red hair like the weirwood's red canopy. So yeah, the idea of Ash Eye by the shadow. So John calls it out one time when he looks at Mel and he's like, you must have ashes in your eyes. So it's like, yes, Ash Eye by the shadow. And it also ties into the Greek Melii, Melisandre of Ashai, Melii. The Melii are ash tree nymphs. They're like dryads that serve the ash trees in Greek mythology. So those are the children of the forest. Weirwood Goddess series goes into all that stuff. Again, I'm trying to summarize like 2 hours of research in 5 minutes, so it's a little difficult, but that is a thing. Good for you. I always love it when people can have the same joy of discovery that I do and figure stuff out. So it's a fun thing. Anyways. Harrison Grand Williams, late to the chat, but I wanted you to know if you've ever discussed the interpretations of Norse myth found in God of War, the video game. No, I have not. Curious if any other myth head facts might cross over from A Song of Ice and Fire. So I have come across some of the artwork from God of War, and I think I might have even grabbed a couple of pictures from it. Oh, yes, I do. I've got one. There's an Odin from God of War I can show you. I believe this is from God of War. It's by Manish Pradhan, and it's cool, so I'll show it to you in any case. But I believe this is from God of War. So you can see Odin is sort of growing out of the side of the tree. He's speared through. You can see the runes on the tree. So it's a little bit funky of an interpretation, but you can see all the cool elements there. But no, I played the first God of War a little bit, but I've never dove. I've obviously loved all the Greek mythology they were bringing to life, but I've not studied it. There probably are YouTube videos about it, though. It's such a big game. A lot of people are into it. I know that. So let's see. Yeah, and I see people piping up about how cool it is. No doubt. Oh, a couple more PayPals. Thanks, guys. Amelia sends a peace sign. Thank you. Michael Lang, by Lucifer's beard. Yes. So I'm about a week and a half past the point where I normally trim my beard, and I know the resolution's low, but you can see it's starting to get a little shaggy there. There's a little bit of frizz going on, so pretty soon I'll have a beard worthy of Odin. But yes, we're only 10 days into it. I did buy some Viking branded beard shit to not shit, it's like conditioner and balm and all kinds of things so that it doesn't get too itchy and I'll cut it off. But enough about me. Let's talk about Oberyn Martell. I pretty much hit most of the Oberyn stuff, unless you guys have any other ideas about stuff I missed. But basically, I've got the spear, the sun symbolism, and the whole starting a war thing, and then the ash symbolism that we get in that scene there. He loses the eyes, and see, it's not itchy. This is what I've learned, is that the beard is not itchy if you actually do stuff to it, like you do with your other hair. So that's the whole thing. So yes, we're gonna get it. We're gonna get a good big old beard here. Guys, I've actually thought about this. I don't know if I can keep doing Rhaegar's reading corner if I grow a big beard. Isn't that gonna kind of be weird? Rhaegar's not really a beard guy. So I don't know. I might have to do Robert's reading corner here pretty soon or something like that. I don't know. Let's see here. Is it 4:20 yet? Oh, it's 4:04. I've got 16 minutes. Okay, cool. 16 long minutes. All right, let's see. I don't know if I'll braid it, but if I grow the top long enough, I might braid that. I might shave the sides and do the braid thing. Who knows? I'm not married anymore. I can do anything. So yeah, okay, I've ruined the comments now. We're only talking about beards. So yes, Odin, Norse mythology. What do we got? What do we got? Yeah, shout out to everyone else who's divorced. We're in a better place now. Yes, we are. Takes a minute, but you do get there. Yeah, man. I'm gonna see how far I can take it. We're going full Viking here. Good question, Mike. Do you believe there's much to the idea of combining Odin, Mercury, Hermes, and Thoth as through syncretism? Yes, I do, of course, because I think that the most important thing with all of the mythology is the idea. And if you can find different people getting at the same idea with different figures, then essentially those figures can be combined or compared or looked at as similar when we're talking about the idea. The idea is the thing. It's like the specifics of the deity. Those are just trappings to help us. They're tools to help us focus on the idea. But the idea is very much the main thing. So yes, there is a commonality with all those. And of course, I myself identify with all of those figures. Odin, Mercury, Hermes is a big one for me. I strongly identify with the planet Mercury and Thoth, the god of wisdom. So yeah, that's my shit. Why do you feel awkward? Oh, because you were saying that you had your anniversary. No, it's cool, man. It's cool. I don't have any sadness in my heart. Everyone's in a better place. Everyone's doing well. It's no sadness at all. I'm happy for everyone. And I'm finding my path just fine. So I need another drink. I'm hitting that midstream point where it starts to get croaky. It usually pulls out of that after a little bit. No, so yeah, let me just talk about that for a second. I do kind of think that the idea of married forever, it's a little overhyped, meaning that like people change every 5, 7, 10 years in their life. You're constantly giving birth to a new self, very much like Odin giving birth to a new self by sacrificing himself to himself. And the thing is, like, if you're going to maintain a relationship over your whole life, you have to periodically reconnect. You kind of have to fall in love over and over again. And sometimes people grow apart, and the values that they had when they were 20 are not the same as what they have at 35. And I don't really think people should stay married if they're not right for each other, if they're going in different places. Like Elisa was saying, that's why we have divorce. So I think that sometimes people stay in bad relationships because they're afraid of the shame of being divorced or being alone. But I made a post on Facebook last week kind of encouraging people, like, don't be afraid to leave a relationship if you don't think it's right for you and the other person anymore, because there's always better stuff out there. And you shouldn't force yourself to do something that doesn't make you happy. So yeah, don't be afraid to do that if you feel it's not right. And if you do have a relationship that you want to maintain, then like I said, don't be complacent about it. Keep in mind that the other person is changing, you're changing, and you kind of got to stay open and flexible to keep in touch with each other. So I don't really feel sad at all. I feel like I'm doing what I need to do. The person I was married to is doing what they need to do. We shared a lot of great time together. And I think a lot of people that get divorced end up feeling that way. Like, we shared good moments together. We walked together for a time, and then there came a time to split. And that's just how it is. So yeah, it's okay. It's okay. And I also feel that way about life decisions too. Like, you think about, oh, I'm moving to a new town, I'm changing my life. Well, yeah, but you can always move again. So it's just kind of like when you make a change, you're choosing what to do for the next like few years. The only things that are permanent are children, tattoos. Pretty much everything else you can undo. So anyways, let's see. Right. I can't imagine getting married at 20, been with my husband 30 years, and I was not 20 when we met. Yeah, I mean, just think about the person you were at 25 versus 40, or 20 versus 30. Like, people change a lot. So yeah, sometimes paths diverge, and that's okay. That's okay. So let's talk about A Song of Ice and Fire. Oh, look, it's almost 4:20. Oh, it's only been 6 minutes. It seems like 16. I must have been talking about my my ex-wife. All right, so let's pull this stream out of the wherever ditch it's in. So we've got Gungnir found with Oberyn's Sunspear. We've got Magnar's Weirwood Spear. What other spears do we have that are prominent in A Song of Ice and Fire? I'll throw this out as a prizeless trivia. Can anybody think of some other spears, preferably made of ash wood? That would be the best. In A Song of Ice and Fire. What else do we have? We've got, like I said, the ash and iron axe of Arya Hotas, honorable mention. We've got Oberyn's spear. We've got the Magnar's spear. I'm thinking of one in particular, but there could be others that I've missed, so I'm waiting. Who can name the spears I'm thinking of? Do we have any ashwood spears in A Song of Ice and Fire? Yes, the Jesus Odin comparison is pretty obvious. It's probably Jesus that influenced Odin, but there could have been a little back and forth. But yeah, it's definitely similar. Osha. Okay, yeah, Osha does have a spear. That's a good one. Oh, Mira has a spear. That's true. She's got like it's more like a trident, right? Isn't it like a three-pronged? I guess that's really just a three-pronged spear. That can definitely be similar symbolism. I'd have to go look at Mira. Osha. Nobody's getting it. Oh, the spear with Bittersteel's skull. There's nice. Yeah, so Bittersteel's skull, somebody commented on the video. I shout out, sorry, I don't have your name handy to pull up, but Mimir's head. Remember, Odin carries around Mimir's head. The Golden Company carries around Bittersteel's head. And Bittersteel's definitely like, he encapsulates the war side of Odin, doesn't he? I mean, he starts like 5 wars or something. So the fact that it's put on a spear gives you kind of like a weirwood symbol combined. Yeah, because the spear is the tree trunk, and then you've got the skull on top of it. But guys, there's other heads on spears that I'm thinking of. Obara's got a spear. So, oh yeah, so if Obara has a spear, maybe that's how we'll get Oberyn's revenge eventually, if she lives, past the confrontation with Darkstar. I kind of feel like her and Darkstar are going to make friends. They're going to punk Arya Hota. I kind of see that coming. Ned's head on a pike. Yeah, that's not the one I was thinking of. Oh, there's Long Spear Rick. That's true. Harmadog's head. The severed heads on spears. That's right. It's the one that Jon sees north of the wall. There's 3 heads: Garth Greyfeather, Harry Hal, and Blackjack Bulwer's heads. They're mounted on spears of ash, 8 feet tall, and their eyes are clawed out. They're removed by the Weeper. So you've got the bloody eye, weirwood symbolism. You've got the ash spear. So it's basically a weirwood totem. So yeah, that seems like a Gungnir reference there. That's the one I was thinking of. More comparisons between Odin and Oberyn. Oberyn was an active knowledge seeker. That's true. He was. He went to Old Town and forged a few links of his Maester's chain, didn't he? I forgot about that. Very nice. Highborns didn't usually do that, but he forged multiple links. Odin is highborn and didn't have to seek knowledge either, but he did. Yes, true. Very good. Nice. Thank you, Lauren. No, Tony, I probably just missed you, buddy. You're good. The chat moves fast. A dog's head on a spear. Yeah, we gotta go look at that one. Anytime you got some wolves. Oh, Kimberly, I missed your super chat. Okay, cool. Let me go back and find it. Thanks for being patient with me. Britney Spears. No, not the spear I was thinking of. Let me see if I can find it on this side. Kimberly asks, I think the history of Dorne and Aegon is being used as foreshadowing. The dragons won't be enough to bring down Night's King, perhaps a pact or a wedding. Oh, hey, that's a good one. Okay, so Aegon couldn't beat Dorne with dragons. They burnt the shit out of Dorne and all their castles, but it wasn't until Daenerys wed a Dornish prince, right? Jon is kind of a Dornish prince since he was born in Dorne. Ah, very good. That's when it was ended. So yes, very nice, Kimberly. Because we know it's not going to be enough to kill the others. We are going to kill some others, but that's not going to be enough. It is going to take some sort of personal sacrifice. So yeah, that's good. That's good. I'll have to think about that more, Kimberly. But I'm glad you called me back for that one. It's hot. I'm a sapiosexual, so knowledge is always hot. But it's hot because it's Dragonfire from Dorne, and it's just a really good idea. I'm definitely going to think about that one. Let's see. Oh, yes. Let's go back over to PayPal. Tim Kelly says, in the new video, you connected Bloodraven to Nidhogg, the serpent who gnaws on Yggdrasil. You also mentioned other serpents near the roots. Is there any symbolism between those other serpents and the other great bastards of Aegon the Fourth, their continued influence and damage to the realm through the Blackfire rebellions? Well, it's hard to know because none of the other serpents are named. But it kind of makes sense on a thematic level, right? Like those serpents are ever lacerating the roots of Yggdrasil. So they're sort of eating the roots of the realm and of the world tree. And the Great Bastards and the Blackfires are kind of doing the same thing. So yeah, I could see that. The Blackfire symbolism is also one of corruption. Like normal fire is red and orange. The Blackfire is this, it's like the darkened sun. It's a twisting and a poisoning. And the weirwood net is also poisoned. So it's kind of layers of that symbolism here. All right, guys, it's almost 4:20. I need to take my birds out too. So let me just pause here and take care of a couple things. Be right back. All right. If Euron is pirate Odin on bad acid, I'm like gay Odin on pot, except for I'm not gay. But Cleo is a gay icon. That is for sure. Aren't you, girl? No, I sometimes joke that she makes me look like a gay pirate. Not very intimidating, though. You're supposed to be like green and mean looking. Instead, you're pink and festive. What's up with that? Anyways. Yes, it's bird hour. Hopefully Goose won't scream too much. Thanks for bearing with me. Sorry about the bird noise. I have birds and kind of have to deal with it. So I know Elisa is a Cleo fan. Yes. Stealing the show. Yes, we have kind of the same hair right now. Don't we, girl? Yeah, I got it from you, girl. Want to stay there? Want some pets? All right. So, what are we talking about? So let me go back. One thing I wanted to do, I almost stuck in the script for the Bloodraven one, was I almost went for Barrick, but I left Barrick out of it. I might talk about Barrick and the Azor Ahai one. And you guys who've done the Weirwood Compendium, the old school myth heads, you know all about Barrick. But since I do have a lot of new people liking the channel lately, let's take 5 minutes and just review the Barrick stuff. Okay, so Barrick is a very interesting symbol. He's one of the most interesting symbolic characters in the book. The reason why is because he is essentially Azor Ahai in a weirwood cave, right? Like that's kind of what he is. He is obviously, he has a flaming sword. That's the first thing. So anybody with a flaming sword is pretty obviously doing an Azor Ahai impression. Stannis has a flaming sword. Jon Snow in his dream has a flaming sword. Thoros has a flaming sword. And Barrick has a flaming sword. And Jaime's got one in his dream as well. So does Brienne in that dream. So anybody with a flaming sword or even just a dragon sword can potentially... Is Cleo a mod yet? No, Cleo doesn't have hands. She doesn't type very well. In fact, if I let Cleo near my keys, she will put... She destroyed a Mac computer one time exactly 1 week before the warranty expired. She pulled half the keys off of the keyboard and then bit all the little plastic bubbles, which means you got to replace the whole circuit board. And luckily, it was within the warranty, girl. Otherwise, it would have cost me like a hard grand. Yeah, I left her alone for like 5 minutes. Anyways, so Cleo is not a mod. No, she is not. So Barrick Dondarrion has a flaming sword. And anytime we see that, we should think about this person as a symbolic mirror or parallel for Azor Ahai, right? But Barrick lives in a weirwood cave, and he's essentially doing a Bloodraven impression and an Azor Ahai impression at the same time. So let's look at the parallels between Barrick and Azor and Bloodraven. Very, very similar. So Bloodraven lives in a weirwood cave. Barrick lives in a weirwood cave. And the first time we see Barrick, he's actually up in a tangled nest of weirwood roots and walks down, sort of talking about the greatness of the Brotherhood or whatever. But he is seated amongst the weirwood roots when we first see him. So even though he's technically not a greenseer, I want to be very clear, I'm not saying Barrick is a greenseer, but he's presenting the same symbols as Bloodraven. Bloodraven lives in a cave in a weirwood nest. Barrick lives in a cave in a weirwood nest. Bloodraven has one eye missing, and the eye that's left is red. Barrick similarly has one eye missing, and the one that's left is red and burning. And Bloodraven's eye burns like the last coal in a fire. Bloodraven is a crow, so of the Night's Watch, so he wears a black cloak. Barrick wears a black cloak with lightning on it because he is from House Dondarrion. Let's see. Bloodraven is hung in the sense that he's being strangled by the weirwood roots. There's one that goes around his eye and into his neck. So he's got that hanging symbolism of Odin. Barrick is actually hung from a tree. Barrick is reborn in a grove of ash. Bloodraven is reborn in the weirwood tree, which is a model of Yggdrasil, which is an ash tree. Let's see. Barrick also... Come here. Come here, girl. Then if you go to the origins of House Dondarrion, we see that there's the lightning tree thing. The first Dondarrion was a page for Baratheon, and he was set upon by a couple of foes. His horse went out from under him, and his sword broke, but lightning struck and hit the other two foes, something like that. I might be mixing it up slightly, but there was basically a lightning tree and a broken sword symbol in the founding of House Dondarrion. That is why the lightning bolt is on Barrick's cloak. That's why the lightning bolt is the Dondarrion sigil. So we've got the allusion to the Grey King myth of the lightning hitting the tree, which again is all about the weirwood fire of the gods. So Dondarrion is just draped in specific Bloodraven parallels and general greenseer ideas. Also, the name Dondarrion is a variant of the German Dundar, and the word that's where Donner comes from. You know, Donner and Blitzen, the reindeer. Dundar means thunder, and Barrick is the lightning lord. So we've got the thunder and lightning again of the lightning striking the tree. Poop on my shoulder. Is there? No, it's actually just bird dandruff. Yep, there's no bird poop. Thanks for looking out. There is some right next to me, and if I'm not careful, I will step in it. I better do something about that right now, because it's not fun to smear bird poop around with your stuff, is it, Goose? Guys, this is like the realest YouTube channel around. That's all I got to say. So, yes. Oh, Barrick is also called Wisp of the Wood. Thank you. And that nickname, Wisp, is a ghost. So he's a ghost of the wood. Odin, of course, dies and resurrects on Yggdrasil. So he's an undead figure. He's a lord of the dead, lord of the hanged. Yeah. So just layers and layers of, wait, what is this? LML just poops wherever and blames it on the birds. No, one of the nice things about birds is that their shit don't stink, literally. So yeah, anyways. Yeah, follow me on Instagram. I do. I've been doing all kinds of stuff. I'm using stories now and talking about Odin and all kinds of things. So I'm Lucifer Means Lightbringer on Instagram. And if you're on IG, then follow me. And I'll probably follow you back too. So Barrick Dondarrion, he's showing us Azor Ahai. Not only does he have the flaming sword, but of course he is powered by R'hllor. He runs on fire magic. Azor Ahai at some point probably became undead, resurrected, magically animated. I mean, there's all kinds of fire transformation with every Azor Ahai figure. So it's very likely that that is something that he did. So we've got a fiery undead figure with a flaming sword. That's the Azor Ahai half. I just went over all the Bloodraven and greenseer stuff. And then specifically, Barrick is like I said, showing us the Odin ideas of both losing his eye, being hung, and being reborn from the ash. So it is just layers and layers of stuff with Barrick. And what does that mean? That Barrick is showing us a combination of Azor Ahai and greenseer stuff. Well, that probably implies that Azor Ahai was a greenseer. And in fact, this is the first place that I started to get in on this idea that Azor Ahai must have been a greenseer or someone who invaded the weirwood net. It was literally Barrick that tipped me off to it. And I had to understand the Odin symbolism in order to get that. You can see my troublesome bird, Goose, right here, getting into trouble. That's why we have the stick. Because when Goose goes to a trouble spot, he's sometimes a little dangerous to handle, aren't you, buddy? Yeah, you get a little bitey sometimes in the spring. You turn into a horny bird and you like kind of bite people. And you try to make nests in drawers and stuff. Yes, never touch a bird that's in a drawer or an enclosed area. That's their nest now, and they will kill you if you try to mess with them. Anyways, also most people, I don't really endorse buying parrots, by the way. My parrots are great and I love them, but before I bought them, I didn't know anything about the sort of exotic animal industry. For the most part, it's not a good thing, and it's very hard to give quality of life to very intelligent parrots. I work from home, so it works for me, but I also make a lot of compromises to take care of my birds. So I just want to be clear about that. Most people shouldn't buy birds. If you really do think you want a bird, do a fuck ton of research, make sure you're into it, and then try to get one that needs to be rehomed if you can. That is what I will say. Public service announcement. I love my birds, but definitely not buying any more, and don't really endorse the industry as a whole. It's kind of a morally gray, ambiguous thing. I'm not clearly saying it's all evil, but there is a lot of stuff in there that's not the greatest. And if you do have a bird, you have to be committed. I mean, just like if you have a dog, like you can't leave your dog home alone for 10 hours every day. You have to have somebody come and check on them, right? So same thing with the birds, like they need to be out and doing stuff. So unless you work from home and like hanging out with birds all the time, yes, don't buy birds. Or buy like a cockatiel, guys, a cockatiel. Those are different. Those are not full parrots. They're chill. Cockatiels are chill. So that's where I would, if you want a bird, start with a cockatiel. Anyways, I feel like saying that because I've always got the birds on and I make it look all fun and good. And it is fun. But, you know, there's a serious side to it. So. People have been keeping parrots as pets for a long time, I will say. So it's not like totally crazy, but they don't merge with human life as easily as dogs. Dogs are like, you know, you can just kind of bring them with you wherever you go. It's not that big a deal. With birds, you really do have to change certain things to make it work. So big thanks. Appreciate that. Build for it TV. Big fan of you since quarantine. Sending some love. Yeah, you know, I was kind of having a thought this morning. I was like, man, how have I done in quarantine? It's like, I've done pretty well. I've entertained people. I went through, like I said, processing a divorce and stared into the abyss and came out, you know, stronger and stuff. And yeah, I can't wait for things to get open and go out dancing a little bit. But yeah, shout out to everyone just making it through, you know, and I've tried to do my part and entertain you guys a little bit. So yeah. Okay, so Spears, Odin. What other Odin stuff could I have? Oh, no, actually, no. Let me go back to Barrick. I was making a point. So the idea of Azor Ahai being both a greenseer figure and an Odin figure is a really important thing to grasp. Because now we can see that when Azor Ahai stabbed Nissa Nissa in order to create a magical talisman, well, it starts to sound very clearly like something Euron would do. It's somebody who's trying to grasp magical power and is willing to murder people, betray people in order to do it. And like I said, Odin, it's a little bit of that going on with him where he will do anything. You know, he steals the meat of poetry. So, you know, Azor Ahai, this figure, he's somebody who's questing for godlike power, and he's not afraid to murder and kill and steal in order to do it. I think that is what's going on. And then the astral layer of the symbolism is great because, of course, you guys know that the long night is all about this God's eye in the sky. The moon wandered too close to the sun. That's an eclipse. Any picture of an eclipse looks like an eye. And the ancients interpreted both the sun and moon separately and specifically eclipses as a great eye of God, as the evil eye, the baleful eye, all these things. Literally, I mean, I've found cool eclipse mythology from everywhere to South America to the Philippines. It's everywhere. And specifically, there's some really cool eclipse mythology. But so the idea of Azor Ahai as an Odin figure, if the sun is the eye of God, essentially what Azor Ahai does is he blots out the eye of God in order to become God himself. He blots out the sun and moon, causes the long night, but also somehow gains great magical power in that process. So we can see the sun and moon as like the eye of Odin that is being torn out. And this is the long night event. People are gaining magical power, but also destroying everything that's sacred. So it's very cool how the themes sort of layer out with the whole Azor Ahai stuff, the cause of the long night. There's Odin symbolism in the sky. There's Odin symbolism with Azor Ahai's transformation. And yeah, layers and layers of it, right? And another Gungnir thing. So I'm going to talk about this in the Jon Snow one. But if we're talking about a spear that's made of sunlight, a spear with the power of sunfire in it, well, that's obviously a Lightbringer thing, right? A Lightbringer is the sun-made steel. It is, Nissa's fire and warmth put into the steel. So it's a sword of fire. Literally, the sun is a ball of fire. So Lightbringer is a sun sword. And it's implied as a sun sword by wordplay and stuff. John, when he's given Longclaw, which is a Valyrian steel sword, he thinks that Jorah Mormont he's giving me his son's sword. And literally it should be Jorah's sword. So it's his S-U-N or S-O-N son's sword, but it's also an S-U-N sword, S-U-N son sword. And then when Jon sees Stannis whip out Lightbringer at the wall, he says it's the sun-made steel. So on and on and on. Lightbringer is a sun sword. And of course, Thundar, the barbarian, his sword is called the sun sword. And it looks like dawn. It's like a white shining sword. And so the idea of Lightbringer as a flaming sword, to me, is pretty similar to Gungnir as a sun spear, especially because Azor Ahai turns out to be an Odin figure. And so his weapon, instead of a sun spear, is a sun sword. So we can also think about Lightbringer and all of those symbols as Gungnir symbols when they're in the hands of an Odin-like figure. And yes, the sun is the ultimate Lightbringer, of course. Yeah, it's literally a ball of fire. Goose, you're a little close to the microphone. Let me put you over here, buddy. Will you step up? That's a good Goose. Thank you, buddy. So, is the red comet compared to a spear? Someone asks. I don't think so. The red comet is, of course, compared to a sword and a dragon. It's also compared to, it's also hung. The comet hangs in the sky above the broken tower where Bran hangs from the gargoyle in an imitation of Odin. So Odin is a wanderer. The comet is called the wanderer from far places, and it's compared to the stranger, who is also the wanderer from far places. So Odin is a wandering figure. Some of his nicknames actually include the phrase wanderer, and he wanders around kind of like Elric of Melniboné, to be honest. He's a king, but he leaves his throne and wanders around the land, either in disguise or just sort of starting trouble and getting into stuff. So the idea of the comet as the red wanderer and the stranger as the wanderer from far places, those are taken from Odin as well. Odin is the wanderer from far places. He is a stranger in that he disguises himself and then shows up to the party. So he's like this stranger and this wandering figure. So all that stuff about Azor Ahai and the comet being like the stranger and the wanderer comes from Odin as well. So it's yet another layer of Odin stuff with Azor Ahai. Cool. So, guys, like I said, if you've taken questions not just on spears and Odin, but basically anything Norse that you'd like to see me talk about or discuss, or that you think I might have missed. Oh, there's one from Kimberly I might have missed. What if Azor Ahai infiltrated the weirwood net, not for immortality, but to bring back Nissa Nissa? And when he did, she came out as Night's Queen. So it's a love story that went wrong. So this is one idea that we've entertained in the past while debating this stuff. I think there's an outside chance of this being the case. I'm not sure how that would fit with Azor Ahai murdering her. I mean, that's quite the repentance arc, right? Like he murders his wife to commit powerful blood magic, but then feels bad about it and tries to like go into the weirwood net to get her back. I mean, it could be. It could be. Can you think of any parallels in the main story that would work as a parallel to that? Like somebody that kills his wife or betrays his wife or accidentally does something that leads to her dying and then like tries to get her back. Maybe Tyrion and Tysha? Tysha, Nissa Nissa? That could be. Tyrion is kind of looking for her. He didn't murder her, but he raped her, and was tricked into sort of facilitating this horrible, horrible event. So that could be a parallel. Yeah, John feels like he's responsible for Ygritte's death. That's a good point, Elisa. In his dreams, it says that it's his arrow, that killed Ygritte, even though it really wasn't. So yeah, maybe I get the idea of if John is like looking for Ygritte in his dreams or something like that. That could be a parallel. I like that. Cool. Take care, Lazar, and have fun celebrating that anniversary again. Yeah, John and the Wildling Woman. Yeah, that'd be Ygritte. She has a name. Say her name. It's Ygritte. Jamie and Cersei. Yeah, they have sort of a love-hate relationship. Cat kind of gets Ned killed by telling him to trust Littlefinger. Okay. And then she's trying to like get Ned's bones back. Yep. Okay. I can see that. Dany trying to heal Drogo, but actually killing him. All right. Okay. This might be a pattern here. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Nice, guys. That's why I like to call this a live workshop. Is I like to do this sometimes. Toss out ideas and let you smart cookies get in on the action. Talk Studios. I'm not going to try to read this, but I will put it up on the screen. There's a spear that from Irish folklore that means spear of the mortal pain or spear of death. Who is that guy? Is it Cuchulain or? Sorry, I don't know how to. I gotta look up the pronunciation to know. Definitely learned some Old Norse this month. Cuchulain. Okay, so the second C is silent. Very good. Merlin spears. I'm woefully short on knowledge of Arthurian myth. I'm not sure what Merlin spears are about. Oh, Jinty, you left a Patreon question. Let me see if I can pull that up easily here. That's right. Oh, that's right. I've got those. Thank you for reminding me. Yes. Jinty says, I've never actually considered that there was Norse influence in the Dornish before, but I'm loving the possibilities. So if Oberyn is an Odin figure, do you think that the Sand Snake's loyalty mirrors the Valkyrie's loyalty to Odin? Yes. Great one, Jinty. And Thank you very much again for reminding me. I asked for questions on Patreon and then just ADD'd it away. Yeah, so totally. The Sand Snakes are very loyal to Oberyn. I mean, just fiercely loyal, and they're all want to avenge his death. The Valkyries are Odin's, handmaidens or battle maidens or whatever you want to say. They're just like the Ulfhednar and the Berserkers are Odin's warriors. The Valkyries are sworn to Odin. So yeah, that's definitely a thing. And those Sand Snakes, they, just like Arya, they're very much choosers of the slain in that they kill a lot of people. they decide who's going to die. So look out for Valkyrie symbolism in King's Landing, definitely. And Mark V says, if Nidhogger comes out at Ragnarok to wreak havoc, do you think we'll see a repeat of that with Bloodraven? And how will that manifest itself? So I think that, let's think about that one. I'm not really sure because Bloodraven's probably going to die, right? So that Bran can become the new three-eyed crow and stuff like that. So I don't know that Bloodraven's going to wreak havoc at Ragnarok. Hey, Goose, you're kind of noisy, buddy. I'm going to have to put you back. Yeah. I know you want to get in on it, but you're kind of noisy. People complain. She's quiet. You're noisy. Yeah. So, but what I'm interested in is the idea of, okay, I'm putting Goose back. Hang on. Thank you for being the good one, girl. Come here, Goosey. Thanks, girl. Just when I call you the good one. Cleo hardly ever makes noise, and when she does make noise, it's that awful strangled turkey sound, which I call the tut-tut. Sorry for all the inside bird talk on this video. Come here, girl. Did you attack the camera, too? The chat says you attacked the camera. Is that true? Did you attack the camera and tut-tut on the stream while I was gone? Did you do that? Yeah, you did do that, didn't you? It's okay, girl. I forgive you. Yeah, it's okay. Come here. You want to be on my shoulder? Okay. All right. The bird calls are making the birds outside my window answer. Yeah, I'm sorry for anybody on headphones, guys. I really do apologize. Yeah, the noise. She should be good now. Okay, so like I said, Odin is killed by Fenrir at Ragnarok. Now, Bran has very strong Fenrir parallels. I should be saying Fenrir, but Fenrir is chained until Ragnarok. That's kind of his whole thing. He goes to live in Asgard with the gods, and they like him at first when he's a little pup, but then he grows into this enormous wolf, and they're very nervous about what to do, and they trick him into being chained with this magical chain, again, made by the dwarves. And so Bran, of course, when Jojen comes to Winterfell, he says that he sees Bran in a dream as a winged wolf, but in chains. So Bran, the chained wolf, obviously Fenrir. Also, Fenrir bites off the hand of Tyr, and Jaime is very much Tyr, and Bran doesn't bite off his hand, but Jaime loses the hand and then says, I lost the hand that I shoved Bran out the window with. So we've got two very strong Fenrir-Bran parallels. And like I said, Fenrir kills Odin at Ragnarok. So is Bran going to kill or eat Bloodraven? Well, yeah, kind of, yeah. I mean, if Bloodraven dies, he's going to become part of the Weirwood Net hive mind, like completely. And I have predicted, and I feel very confident in this prediction, that the entire Weirwood Net hive mind is going to get downloaded into Bran's brain. And it won't be in the Weirwoods anymore. It'll only be in Bran's brain, which means that Bloodraven is going to eat Bran, or Bran is going to eat Bloodraven, essentially. Bloodraven's consciousness will be in the hive mind that Bran's going to eat, is going to take inside of his head. So not only is it a standard thing of like, well, the old master has to die so that the pupil can ascend, you know, it's also like literally Bran's consciousness will swallow Bloodraven's. And so in that way, Fenrir will swallow Odin. So that's pretty cool stuff, isn't it? Yeah. And you can see, good point. So Skoll and Hati, the wolves, of course, chase the sun and moon and swallow them at Ragnarok. So if Odin's a sun god and he's getting swallowed by Fenrir, you can see the Norse layering the same idea, of the wolf eating the sun. And we see George use this a ton. Again, in a grove of ash, I talked about this. But one way that George tells us that Azor Ahai, who is also a sun god, goes into the trees is whenever the sun sets into the tree line, he does wordplay stuff. So there's a place called the Wolf's Wood, of course, in the north. The Wolf's Wood is full of weirwoods, okay? And so we've got this wolf tree that ends up swallowing the sun when the sun sets into the trees. So you can see that it's both the idea of a sun god going into a weirwood tree or into the wood, but also the idea of a wolf swallowing the sun, which is, again, Skoll and Hati swallowing the sun and moon. So there's layers and layers of Norse symbolism with that. But it all points to the idea of Azor Ahai as this solar figure, as this Odin figure that's going into the weirwood trees to be reborn through the magic tree, just like Odin. So it's really cool how George folds in all these different Norse myths into the idea of Azor Ahai, the greenseer. You got, again, Skoll and Hati, Odin, Fenrir, all that stuff is going on. So pretty good stuff. And yes, there's fiery wolf stuff. Okay, think about John and Ghost, right? So Ghost is a wolf, but he looks like a weirwood. So just like the wolf's wood has weirwoods in it, there's a wolf that looks like a weirwood. And it also is going to swallow a sun king because John is a solar king and his spirit is going to be swallowed by Ghost. It's going to go into Ghost. So again and again, we see solar king Azor Ahai being swallowed by the trees, but also swallowed by wolves so that we can get that Skoll and Hati thing going on. So yeah. Breaking Bad, no, I have not. Don't smoke meth. Don't cook it either. And see here. And I got a whole line. I did a whole section on the fire wolf symbolism of House Stark. House Stark is funny. You think, ice symbolism because they're in the north and, winter is coming and all the kings of winter and John Ice Eyes, all this stuff. But the Starks actually have a ton of fire symbolism because their castle is like a bastion of heat and warmth in the north, right? They've got the hot springs there. So the whole castle is warm. And then Ned has a dragon sword, right? He's got a black Valyrian steel dragon sword. And then they've got all this hellhound symbolism. And the hellhound is a fiery creature. It guards the entrance to hell. And then when we see the direwolves described, they always have eyes of fire. So there's layers and layers of fire symbolism in House Stark. It's just that they're like a little flame that's surrounded by ice. So it's kind of cool. They're like the ember that's ready to awake again and spark a great blaze, in the words of Melisandre. Lauren Griffith says, Knight of the Laughing Tree, Lady Stoneheart hanging people. So Lady Stoneheart, I guess you could say that she's doing a Valkyrie thing. She looks like a weirwood tree and she's hanging people on trees. And so the hanging symbolism essentially is like giving people to Odin. When you're speared or hung, that's being given to Odin. So remember, Odin was speared and hung, and he says, myself to myself. I gave myself to myself. So Lady Stoneheart is basically giving people to Odin, if you will, by hanging them. And symbolism-wise, that's like sending people into the weirwood net or sending people to Valhalla, which is what the Valkyries do. And then the Knight of the Laughing Tree is basically like a weirwood warrior. That's less a Norse thing and sort of George's own thing. There's lots of weirwood warriors from the Night's Watch to the others themselves. They're both weirwood warriors, just opposite weirwood warriors. And I'm petting my bird here. That's why my hand's up here. Yeah, so we've got a wolf's wood and a weir's wolf. That's right. We got both. Somebody is asking any connection between House Dane and Dondarrion based on the colors. Well, yeah. And in fact, Barrick Dondarrion's squire is Ned Dane. And so these are both showing us like an Azor Ahai last hero relationship where Barrick is the older one, the Azor Ahai figure, and then his son, squire figure, is this Dane last hero kind of guy. So it's pretty cool pairing there. And yeah, they've got a lot of overlapping symbolism. Absolutely. That's cool. Talk Studios. I don't know the one about Pelesius, but I'll look that up. Or Peleus. They're saying Chiron's wedding to that's a centaur, right? To Peleus when he married the nymph Thetis in classic Greek myth. There was an ash spear. So yeah, the thing about Greek and Norse myth are both derivative from Proto-European, family of myth. So there are some overlapping ideas. The ash tree is a sacred tree in both Greek and Norse myth, and that's not an accident. Always friendly, lame poet checking in. Great work. Oh, thanks, Gozer. Appreciate that. And it looks like I got a couple PayPals I should check on. Thanks, y'all. Appreciate that. Yes, couple. Jessica says, let's see. I can't get this idea out of my head. I love Welsh mythology, and I'm not sure if others have pointed out the similarity, but Sansa's arc kind of reminds me of the story of Bran the Blessed and his beloved sister Branwyn. She's married off and then locked in a tower, like in the Vale, but trains a bird to tell her brother Bran she's being hurt by her husband and where she is, and he goes to help. I really like the idea of Sansa skin-changing birds and talking to her brother Bran. So, Jessica must have been listening a couple weeks ago. I was beginning to talk about the idea of Bran rescuing Sansa, visiting Sansa in dreams, and helping Sansa awaken her skin changer gift, which she would then use on birds, probably ravens, that Bran would send her. This is going to be the subject of my video because the story of Idun from Norse myth has implications of this. But this is awesome. You've just given me another myth that also confirms this idea. So yes, Sansa's very much, you're totally on the right path, because Idun is also abducted by a giant to sort of a mountain zone that's very parallel to the Eyrie, and the rescue involves birds and transforming into birds. So yeah, I think George is finding similar myths here and dovetailing them into Sansa, and all of it points to Bran contacting Sansa via dream and helping her unlock her gift. So yes, I will make a video called Sansa's Magic, and it will be about Sansa's future use of magic with birds, and it's going to happen. And thank you very much. You're getting a total shout out in that video, Jessica. That was a home run PayPal that you just sent me. So nice one. Very nice. Oh man, I've been on mute that whole time. That was a bad one. That was a bad one. That was like 3 minutes of mute. I'm so sorry, guys. Let me see. What was I just saying? It's always better when I sum it up. It's less rambly. I was talking about, I know I was doing so well too. All right. What was it? Oh, I totally forgot. It wasn't important. No, I'll remember. Just give me a second. It was something from the chat, wasn't it? Oh, okay. Yes. Okay. I got it for you. So there was a PayPal from, did you guys hear the one about Jessica about the Branwyn and Bran the Blessed? Did you guys hear that one? Or did I, oh, you missed half of it. Okay. So basically, yeah, I think you got most of that. I'm going to make a video about Sansa's magic. Jessica has just given me a huge hint about that. But the next one I went on to was the next PayPal. And I think that's where I muted it. So that one was from Stephen Cook. And he says, all this talk about the sun god has me stoked about the summer solstice. Do you have anything special planned for us myth heads on that day? Maybe we could work in Comet Research Group charity stream. And that's a group that does research on comets that could, destroy the earth. So it's a worthy cause. Thanks for all the content during the pandemic. So yes, we'll definitely do a cool summer solstice thing. We'll definitely do a summer solstice thing. And of course, I was mentioning that Bran Stark is a sun god figure and a summer king figure. And you should check out the video, King Bran. I've got a whole King Bran series, it's got 3 videos in it. But there's one called King Bran, the Summer King, and that talks about Bran's sun god symbolism. So that very much is going to dovetail with the next Bran Odin video that's about to come out. And Elisa Patience says she's going to do her Romeo and Juliet video for the solstice. So make sure you're subscribed to Elisa Patience's YouTube channel so you don't miss that. All right, so this is last call for questions time, guys. Get ready to roll up on out of here. I'm not sure about magic artifacts in Old Town. I do think that Euron could dig something out of the vaults. I don't have any idea what it's going to be, though. But something like that is coming. Yeah, so John has total berserker energy, or technically it'd be Ulfhednar, which is the wolf version of a berserker. The berserkers are bear associated. So yes, that's going to be covered in the 3rd video. He's got several berserker scenes. Yes, and next is Odin and Bran. By the way, it's not going to be in one day. Probably give me like a week to do that. I've got it about halfway done, so it's coming soon. But like I said, I hurt my back, so I got delayed on everything. I was going to put them all out 3 days in a row. That plan is just out the window. But I do have basically the timeline edited, so I just have to drop all the pictures and music in and do the quotes, and then it'll be good. Oh, I did the quotes already, actually. So I just got to drop the pictures in. So give me like a week, and I'll have the Bran Odin video out. Yeah, the penny tree is related. Yes, the penny tree has a lot of lightning symbolism, and the pennies have symbolism too. I don't have that all at the top of my head, but yes, that is a thing. Yep, you're going to get it. The Berserker video is coming. That's going to be the John one. So once again, thank you guys for sending in all the PayPals and Super Chats today. Very generous. Really appreciate that. Yes, John is a descendant of the Night's King. Check out Blood of the Other series, and also, Night King Jon Snow. I got a couple of videos about that. I think the House Stark itself descends from a stolen child of Night's King and Queen, just like Gilly's monster was stolen from Craster. So all the Starks are descendant of the Others, essentially. That's why I did a whole series called Blood of the Other, which is Elisa's favorite. Is there any symbolism to bacon burnt black? Maybe. I mean, Azor Ahai is a smoked ham, right? He's burned black. I don't like the bacon burned black, by the way. That's no good. You don't want to burn your bacon. Yes, thanks for another endorsement of Blood of the Other. Very cool. That was a fun series. My favorite Odin epithet. Well, there's one that I forgot to mention. He is the creator of all magical songs. And that's an obvious greenseer thing, right? Let's, the song of the wood, the children who sing the song of the earth. There's just a ton of magic songs in a song of Ice and Fire. So the idea of Odin being the creator of magical songs, yeah, it's a pretty good one. I like that one. How would you feel about one-off Tarantino movie set in Middle Earth instead of his Star Trek plans? You just scrambled my brain, man. I don't even know what to. I think Tarantino's way too violent for Middle Earth. He's making a Star Trek movie? That's crazy. I haven't heard about that. And Brian Sheeran with a thank you. Thanks, Brian. You're quite welcome. This is my pleasure. Could Jon be a greenseer? I don't think so, but he has the symbolism of a greenseer because he's reborn through his weirwood-colored wolf, and there might be weirwood magic involved in his resurrection. So I can't rule out that Jon will gain power of a greenseer magically, kind of like Azor Ahai wasn't born a greenseer but stole the power of the weirwood net. I could see something like that happen, sure. It's actually not a bad question there, John Moidib. Quite welcome, Athena. Oh gosh, you need to go to bed. It's like 4 a.m. in Greece. Go to sleep. Thanks for staying up, though. That one is Goldrafodr, which means father of magical songs. Yeah, very cool. Thanks for pulling that up, Mr. Karsnack. $3 a.m. in Greece. Okay, cool. Well, very good. Thanks for staying up. And let me just check PayPal one more time. We're all up to date. All right, guys. Have a great Sunday. And I will see you, like I said, I'll see if I can get the brand video out before next Sunday. But I will stream next Sunday no matter what. So I will see you in a week or maybe sooner. And don't forget to leave a comment on the way out.